Hello, welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today I'm very excited to talk about a movie. Not a podcast chapter that we're normally talking about, but we're talking about a movie, a superhero movie, a Dragon Ball superhero movie. That I still think that name is really dumb. Anyway, I'm Jason Hahn. I'm a writer from ScreenRant.com, and I happen to write a lot of video game related stuff, but I love manga and shonen. And so today on Mega Manga Mondays, we're going to talk about the new Dragon Ball Super movie. I loved it. I've watched it twice already, and we had to wait 2 whole months after Japan got it, and I luckily avoided most spoilers. But I could rant and rave about the movie by myself for a little while, but I got some buddies from Screen Rant with me to help talk about it. I'll go and let them introduce themselves. Steven, how are you today, man?
Hey, good. My name is Steven. I've been writing for the comic section for a while now, mostly writing about manga and a lot of IDW publishing recently. Really excited to talk about this movie because I was kind of on the fence about it, and I'm definitely not on that fence. I am far away from that fence because it was awesome.
I jumped that fence.
I tore that fence down.
Or like a 3-year-old half Saiyan or a quarter Saiyan little girl, you flew over that fence. But we'll get into that a little bit later. And as everybody's introducing themselves, we'll go ahead and introduce what version you watched. I've watched it dubbed and subbed. So I kind of got a little bit of both there, but excited to watch it again.
I just did subbed.
Subbed? All right, cool. And Carlisle, how are you, Ben?
I'm doing good. I really enjoyed this movie as well. I watched it dubbed. I know that's sacrilege for manga people often,
no.
but I generally prefer to watch the dubs, and I have a lot of fun recognizing the dub voice actors. So that's how I chose to watch it.
No, like Dragon Ball is one of the few anime that just do a phenomenal job. I mean, I grew up with it too, so I mean, I prefer it over the Japanese any day. So, sorry.
Yeah, over the years, I too was mostly like I liked sub, but of course during the '90s, they just had some fantastic teams doing some dubs with like Yu Yu Hakusho, Trigun, Dragon Ball. Those series, just the dub, just.
Boy Bebop, most well-regarded dub of all time, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for throwing that in there, too. But yeah, there's some fantastic series that the dub just knocks it out. And
awesome.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super is definitely one of those. I waited years for Super to get dubbed, so I eventually got over my thing of the Japanese voice actors, and also got an appreciation for the Japanese versions, too. So, but we also got Spencer. How are you, man?
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, I'm Spencer, writer, Screen Rant's comic section. I watched Dragon Ball Superhero. I watched it subbed, actually. Yeah, but I agree with you guys. I definitely love the dubbed version because, yeah, I grew up with it just like that. The voice acting has always been awesome, but you know, I was able to watch it subbed. So that was cool. One of the local theaters here had that going, and yeah, I absolutely loved this movie. It was so great.
Yeah, we have a lot of positive things to say about this movie, but one thing I want to get out of the way, too, is another way I watched it. I was on vacation, which is why we haven't been able to talk about this movie as soon as we wanted to, but I was on vacation in Colorado, and in Denver, they have a movie theater that supports what they call 4DX, I believe is what it's called, and it's not just seats that, like, move with the movie. That's called like D-Box, and even I have those in my hometown, and those are awesome. But 4DX, you're like on a platform where there's like 4 or 5 seats on each different platform, and it like shifts with the movie. They have like lighting and steam effects, and even like mist and water effects. So like when Gohan turns Super Saiyan or something, there's like special like yellow lights that flash just on the side of the walls, and
Whoa,
when there's
that's
like
awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, except like whenever somebody got like hit into some rocks, they had some machines behind you that made like a sound.
That is nuts.
And it was cool, but honestly, it was pretty distracting from the movie. Like I liked maybe half of the things that the thing was doing, but The other half was just like, oh well, that just took me out of that. Like, but it was really cool. Like whenever somebody got punched in the back, you felt like a little impact on your back because they had like massagers on the chairs that were all coded to the movie and stuff. So
that's dope. That definitely sounds like a second watch experience, though. I feel like you understand it, you've seen it, but now it's like, all right, I'm gonna get into it now.
Absolutely, it like kind of took me out of the experience, especially like near the climax of the movie. Like especially, I'll get into my favorite part later, but the last attack, we'll talk about that. But when that happened, it's just so dramatic and great. And then being punched in the back and my seat suddenly jarring to the right or something like that kind of took me out of it. But it was a cool experience. So if you have that ability, definitely check those out. But oh man, where to even start with this movie, guys? I recently rewatched it, and I probably the one part I didn't like about the movie was the beginning. We're introduced to Dr. Hedo, and it's comedic and all that stuff, but he still like is shown leaving a prison and then throwing a grenade into the prison and killing we don't know how many people in that prison. And then later, like, in the movie, he's supposed to be like, hey, I think I'm going to come work with you guys. And I'm like, oh, well, he kind of did the murder things. He's not a great dude, but there's so many different, like, implications on how this movie could change the series. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, this movie kind of takes place, like, after Broly movie, after Dragon Ball Super, maybe even after, like, where the manga currently is. Like... It's just
from what I heard, it's supposed to be 3 to 4 years time skip from Broly, so it should be quite a ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's another thing I loved about this movie is we finally, well, not finally, but well, yeah, I guess finally we got Goku versus Vegeta, and it was a brilliant scene because Whis is just like no transformations, no laser attacks, no techniques or anything like that, just straight up one-on-one fighting. And so that could take place at any point in the series. Like, we don't know if Goku's already mastered UI, Vegeta has Ultra Ego, doesn't matter. You're not allowed to use it. And it's just, oh, it was awesome. Like, and especially with this art style, I feel like this movie can justly, like, there's no reason to complain about CGI anymore. Like, I think this movie definitely proved that in the right hands, CGI anime can be fantastic. I think technology has gotten to the point now where, obviously, put in the right hands, it can do things that other animation cannot do. I'm not going to say that CGI is 3D anime is better than others or anything like that, but I'm not going to be disappointed if somebody's just like, oh yeah, we did most of this in 3D now, or CGI, whatever we want to call it. Like, this movie looked great.
Yeah, the visual style was definitely something that I wanted to talk about here because I was a little nervous going into it. I remember watching a lot of the earlier attempts at this sort of style back in the 2000s that were just very not good. But it's really come a long way. I don't think that you even notice it very much after the first couple minutes. It did feel a little bit like watching a video game cutscene for a minute there, but it does smooth out. And sometimes you can tell that the things that are happening are things that you wouldn't do in animation, just because of the way that you would draw it versus the way that you would model it. But the smear frames, that was one of the things in particular. I was like, we didn't do those because we're doing the full range of motion through the model, but that's the most noticeable style difference. I don't think most people would notice that.
I didn't notice it at all.
I mean, I would just say from my perspective, I completely agree with what you're saying, Carlisle. Like at first, it's something that you noticed, but then the longer you watch it, the more used to it you get. That said, I probably would have enjoyed it more if it wasn't CGI, but I came to accept the CGI and enjoy it for what it was while I was watching it. So.
Yeah, I think it blended pretty well, but yeah, it definitely is a bit jarring at first, which on the big screen, everything's just not exactly how we're used to seeing this universe. But I definitely feel what you're saying, Carlisle, too, with the video game cutscene. There's a few scenes, like, I don't know, transitions, whatever. It just, yeah, it definitely seemed like it was like video game cutscene, and then it shifted, and then it's like, okay, I guess it's time for me to start fighting now. But overall, yeah, I didn't really have a problem with it. It definitely allowed it to be crazy epic, especially in that final fight. Just the stuff they were able to do with it, it was intense.
Yeah, and I would say even before that, like it's a scene that they showed in the previews pretty extensively, and even a lot of the creators have said, "Oh man, as soon as that battle started in the rain, I was just like, oh man, this is so cool." And I totally agree. I think the rain, them deciding to do it in the rain, and they honestly just, I think the creators even came out and said just like, well, yeah, we just did it because it would be cool. It looked cool. I was just like, all right, I agree. But I also really liked the new characters too. Dr. Hedo is an interesting figure that may play a bigger role into it later. I kind of like that he's not just, a new Dr. Gero. I like that he's kind of his own. Dumb. Yeah, that would have been dumb. But one thing that I did think was dumb, and I might be getting ahead of myself here, but my biggest complaint about the movie was Cell. I did really like, at first when it was kind of a small spoiler, I didn't see what he was going to look like or anything like that, but that Cell was going to be in the movie. I was kind of disappointed at first, but I think they made it work. However, I really didn't like the hulked out, like, beast just ravaging mode Cell. Like, I like Cell's personality, his snarkiness, and I was honestly kind of looking forward to, like, if Cell, when he was resurrected, if he still had semblance of, like, everything that happened. Like, I would love to hear him have a conversation with Gohan again, especially, like, a grown-up Gohan. So that was my one disappointment with the movie, because I feel like it could have been even better if we had gotten, jerk Cell back and just instead of a big hulking, monster.
That's funny because actually, like, I'll try to make this one quick. I when I first heard like that there was going to be a Cell Max type of thing, like, because I didn't know anything about this movie going in. I was actually very upset when I thought he was going to be coming back as Cell, because I feel like sometimes when you're bringing back things from the past, it can be overdone. Mm-hmm. Like, they're bringing back the Red Ribbon Army, which was cool. They didn't bring back Dr. Gero, really, so that was exciting. But I felt like if they had brought back Cell as he was, then it would have felt like they were trying too hard to just kind of get back to the past. And so, like, even though it's weird because I'm glad that they chose the version of Cell that they did, like I forgot, Imperfect Cell or whatever.
Second
that
form
was the
Cell.
form. Yeah, that was the form that people don't remember or they don't really envision Cell as. It's either his first form or his last form. Like, it's kind of like with Frieza, where he becomes like a Xeno type of thing. Like, that's the form no one really thinks of. So I thought it was cool that they chose that for this Cell, and then they made him into like a monster. Like, it felt like filler almost. Like, it was kind of extra. I'm like, oh god, now I have to fight Cell. But it was the fact that he wasn't really Cell that made the Cell for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I watched this with my brother, who's also a huge Dragon Ball fan, and we were kind of in agreement after the movie was over that we thought that the Cell Max was going to absorb one of the androids, like maybe two, and that is what would make him go from the hulking monster into the kind of snarky Cell that we know. And then with all of the backup information that was within that android, could kind of make him Cell again. But of course, that would have added probably another hour to the movie. Yeah. Because that's, and we talked about that too. It's like, yeah, that would have been cool, but that sounds like a Dragon Ball saga. Like, that doesn't sound like a movie. So in terms of like the movie, with the Red Ribbon Army and the new androids that we got, the superheroes, I think they did an excellent job of including this Cell, and yeah, like you said, Steven, this version of Cell, it is kind of like his own character, because you're right, this is not the version people think of at all. And then they hulked him out, maxed him up, gave Piccolo an opportunity to go giant again, which is so funny because I just read an article about how they, like, Dragon Ball totally teased fans and wasted an opportunity to do a Godzilla versus Hulk style kaiju battle between giant Piccolo and Great Ape Goku. But they kind of paid that off a little bit in this movie, so that's interesting.
Yeah, and that kind of brings up another thing I definitely want to talk about. This movie kind of was a Piccolo's movie, and honestly, guy is overdue.
Way overdue. He started as like a demon god king, and then he gets sidelined so hard, especially in the recent Super. So yeah, I was very happy about that.
Well, that's something I loved about this too. Is while I was watching it, and as soon as like Piccolo started making a wish, I was just like, this has honestly come full circle 100%. In our Dragon Ball Super manga podcast we recently did, I was bringing up how making a wish, or how I've been watching old school Dragon Ball, and I finished King Piccolo Saga recently, and a major part of that arc was them trying to avoid old King Piccolo from being able to use the Dragon Balls to wish himself to become stronger and more youthful and stuff. And here we are in Dragon Ball Superhero 20-30 years later, and we're just using the Dragon Balls to make Piccolo stronger, and everyone's cool with it, and it's actually being used to like save the world, and it's just 100% come full circle.
Yeah. It seems Shenron completely forgave him because, during that first wish, King Piccolo killed him.
Yeah.
And then this one, he's like, I threw in a little extra for you. You said you wanted to unlock your potential. Here's a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You know what's funny, though? Like, just because you mentioned that, when he said, I'm throwing in something extra, right after he says that, he gave him a mirror. And I thought that's what he meant by it. So, like, but later on, it's like, oh, he gave me something extra. I was like, yeah, he gave you the mirror. And it's like, oh, wait, no, he isn't. And,
I got you.
Like, the mirror was like the extra. It's like, here you go. Now you can look at yourself. Here you go.
Yeah. Do you have one of these in your new house?
But yeah, like with the wish, though, I felt I'm kind of torn with it just because I thought I was so psyched when they brought, the whole thing about the Namekian Elder, how he brought out Gohan's power. And even though they explained why Dende couldn't do it, I felt like the fact that they had to like go back to the Dragon Balls, like it felt like, I don't want to say a cop-out, but it was just weird because it's just the fact that they brought up something so iconic like that and they didn't go with it or try to find a way to do it. I kind of felt like I was kind of let down in that way because it was just weird because, like, if you're going to use the Dragon Balls, like, you could do something more insanely awesome than just do what happened to Gohan. It's like, well, we've been seeing what's going on in the manga with becoming the strongest in the universe. Like, it kind of feels like it was like, well, yeah, the Dragon Balls. I mean, I guess you could wish for anything. But it's like, I just want what happened to Gohan.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the manga for anybody who's listening to this without being caught up on all the manga. So I won't get too into it, but the manga has definitely done a lot of things where it's just like, oh, I'm suddenly better at healing now. Well, that's weird. And it's just like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, Dende's been healing these guys for years, and he's not just suddenly able to fully heal everybody because he's better at it. And so I kind of enjoyed that about this, actually, because I almost feel like this movie might be setting up some ramifications, and this might be controversial, but I'm curious if in a future arc of Super, if they're going to take one of the few things people liked about GT and bring it into Super with the Dark Star Dragon Balls.
Here's the thing. Why is I don't know why the hate for GT is so big. Like, I don't know.
Me neither. I like GT. I don't know.
I prefer
I think it's
GT to a lot of Dragon Ball Z.
I think it's that's a hot take.
I will take that to my grave. 'Cause it's just like I don't understand, because it's like the first half that everyone had a problem with. It was basically going back to Dragon Ball's roots, and like Spencer will know this because he just read Dragon Ball, reread it, and it's like like the big critique with Dragon Ball Z is like. And Dragon Ball Z perfected it and made it popular, but like just the one-on-one battle, like that's what it's all about, and that's a major critique of DBZ. And then GT's like, okay, let's go back to our roots, and everyone's like, yeah, but I want the one-on-one battles. It's like, no, GT was so good because like the first half does what we wanted with Dragon Ball, and then GT it like introduced a Saiyan, a type of Super Saiyan that kind of breaks the trend that we've been seeing with Super Saiyans, where the hair gets more ridiculous and it just goes a completely different way. It's like, oh man, no, GT. I love GT.
See, I think the reason
4,
I think the reason that so much people hate is because it's for every. Well, there's a few really good ideas in GT, but as a whole, it just didn't feel like it was doing anything new. It was just kind of regurgitating the same stuff that like the first chunks of Dragon Ball did. But we could probably talk about GT for a whole podcast. But
to bring it back around to the Dragon Ball wish, it kind of served dual purpose there, which was to get the Dragon Balls out of the way so that wasn't an option to solve the problem later.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other thing we were trying to accomplish. I think it would have been better if perhaps Bulma had been like wishing every couple months for something, and so there was only one wish available.
Mm-hmm.
That probably would have been better than just wasting that other wish and not being able to. Well, like, obviously we don't want Goku and Vegeta there because that ruins the whole premise of the movie.
Right.
But having the option and then just forgetting about it is not a very good reason.
Oh, well, I definitely played into the comedy. I thought. Yeah, it definitely played into the comedy for that. But yeah, it's just Bulma consistently using it to essentially give herself risk-free cosmetic surgery. It's definitely turned the Dragon Balls into a joke. So I'm very curious if like they did that, for the purpose of that paying off later, because that was one idea I did like about GT was you guys have overused the Dragon Balls. There's consequences to this. Like that'd be a nice little turn there.
Well, it's like I actually really liked the like how Bulma was using it that way, because at least in the sub, I don't know if it was different in the dub, but that like she was using it that way so that people couldn't misuse the Dragon Balls. So it's like whenever they were ready, they would just use them up.
I was thinking that would be her actual reasoning. I don't know if they said that, but that was kind of my assumption, was as long as they've been used, then other people can't come here and find them and cause problems.
Hmm.
But didn't they say that in the sub? Like I thought that was, or maybe I'm just extrapolating things that aren't there.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but
Bulma's not stupid. It seems like something she would think of.
Right.
Yeah, that would make sense. And with the Dragon Balls kind of going back to Piccolo using them, I was like, I kind of felt the same way as you, Steven, where it's like, this might be a little bit iffy, but I think what saved that for me is the fact that it was Piccolo using them, just because, you go back to Kami, who created the Dragon Balls and, brought back Shenron, especially after King Piccolo killed him. This almost like what you're saying, Jason, almost felt like a full circle where Piccolo was then using the Dragon Balls almost not like through the wishes, but not like anyone else who wishes, because it started with him, or a part of him, Kami, and so him kind of using those Dragon Balls to unlock the full potential of his power that he placed in the Dragon Balls to begin with. It kind of felt kind of cool, and maybe that's why Shenron kind of gave him that little extra bit of power, because it all started with him. So it's kind of like it almost felt like his way of attaining a Super Saiyan 4, because it's like the Super Saiyan 4, they needed to go back into their roots to become the Great Ape and then take control of that, and then elevate past it. But this way is just Piccolo's way, how he was able to attain, Orange Piccolo.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of cool with that. He does,
Which it's another one I in our other podcast. I don't like the name just Black Frieza. Like, we can come up with a cooler name for that. Same thing with Piccolo. It's just like, call it like Shenron mode Piccolo. Like, I think that's a way cooler name. And I almost wonder if, like, if they ever needed to give Piccolo like another power up, if he like absorbed, or if him and Shenron somehow like combined. But then they wouldn't be able to use the Dragon Balls anymore. That could be like a end game Dragon Ball Z power up, but I don't think that they'll ever want to end Dragon Ball ever. I think that's been established now.
That would be cool.
It would be cool. Yes, it would be very cool. Speaking of very cool, I still have a whole list of things to talk about in this movie. While we're on like awesome Piccolo stuff, it was one thing that I just noticed by watching the sub and the dub. In the dub, when Piccolo goes to pick up Pan while he's in disguise, and that other guy is just like, "Oh, hi, Pan, your mom sent me to pick you up. Come get in the car," and she knocks him out. As soon as he's like leaving, and Pan's like, "You can't be parked here." In the dub, they said, "Oh, well, I never got my driver's license," so they're like referencing the driving episode of Dragon Ball Z. And they didn't have that in the sub. Yeah, in the sub he's just like, "Oh, this isn't my forte," and I was like, "Oh, that was a missed opportunity. Come on."
There were a lot of fan servicey callbacks like that, and it was great.
It made it a lot of fun. I agree. But another thing, kind of while we're on Pan, they say she's only 3 years old. That's way too young. Like, she's got to be like 5 at least. Like, I haven't met a lot of 3-year-olds in my days, but I'm pretty sure that they're not as articulate as Pan was.
Yeah, that kind of weirdly goes back to the roots too. Just because when Piccolo was first training Gohan, Gohan was 4. He was literally 4 years old. He like leaves him out in the wilderness alone for 6 months. At a 4-year-old, and then he shows up just to beat the crap out of him. It's awful, but I mean, I guess it kind of is in line with what Dragon Ball's about. Just beat the crap out of these kids, and then they'll become more powerful.
That's crazy. Like, I'm glad you brought that up, because Piccolo seems to have mellowed out quite a bit. Like, he's like, because Pan's like trying to do all these things, like, I want to shoot Kai blasts out of my hands. Like, no, we got to do this slowly. There's no rush. So it's like that. I'm very glad you brought that up, because it kind of shows like a huge growth in character. Like, he's not as insane as he was.
Well, I don't know. As soon as she turns 4, he might let her have
it. Knee to the stomach immediately.
Happy birthday to you. Boom.
Stop crying.
Throw her into the side of a mountain, see what happens.
She was Super Saiyan. Holy crap!
The birthday party from hell.
That is one of the things I really appreciated about Super in general, is that a lot of these characters who've kind of fallen behind on the power scale have gotten to develop in different ways that are really interesting, like Gohan and Piccolo. That it maybe isn't what you would have expected watching Z back in the day, but it's really interesting to see that they can deviate from kind of the shonen martial arts hero thing, and they can do other things, be Grandpa Piccolo,
Oh yeah, and Beast
Gohan is following Goku. He's kind of following in Goku's steps. Like, Goku was just all about training and didn't really pay attention to his kids, and now Gohan's doing it with his work. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is a good take. Yeah, because he totally was like not picking Pan up from school and everything. Yeah.
I don't know. There's
not a big deal. Like, that's like such a big thing for kids. Like, seeing their parents after school. It's like, yeah, you don't understand what you're talking about, Gohan. It's not a big deal. You're just picking her up. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's bad.
Well, there's one major difference with that, and it was actually another one of my favorite parts of this movie was when they, and it's something that I enjoyed both subbed and dubbed, was when they approach Gohan after they've quote unquote kidnapped Pan, and and he puts a gun to Gohan's face, and he's just like, could you leave? I'm kind of busy. If you don't leave, I'm going to call the cops. And he's just like, oh yeah, well, what about this? And then he's got his daughter, and after that, no more words. Like, Gohan just crushes his window, and then just suddenly appears where he flicked the gun and crushes it. And then it was definitely one of those moments while I was watching the movie where I was just like, okay, 3D animation is badass, because they start with like panning around where he is, and as they're panning around, the ground just consistently is like condensing more and more and more around him, and the sound. And that was another one of those things with the 4D box. While that moment was happening, my seat's rumbling, there's fog going, and the lights are flickering yellow, and that was incredible. Gohan powering up for the first time, just as a sheer intimidation tactic, was just like, that's not something Goku does. Like, it's especially like a great example I remember from Z. I've been reworking through Original Z, the anime, and Spencer, I think you're bringing this up. This might be around where you're at and your reread, but right when Goku shows up, he literally shows up after Gohan gets like his collarbone just like smashed, and he's like, in the anime at least, in the uncut anime, he's like spurting out blood. It's really hard to watch because Gohan is still like a 7-year-old. I don't know how old he is in Namek, but he gets hit hard enough where he's dying. Like, we're watching a child Gohan like spurt out his last breath, and then Goku shows up and puts a sensu bean in him, and he's just like, oh, haha, good job, Gohan, way to go, pat on the back. But it's just like the difference there. Like, I loved Gohan's reaction as soon as he's like, oh no, I gotta worry about Pan. All right, dad mode, go. And Goku's always just like, oh, well, he can handle it, and if he can't handle it, well, that's his fault. Like,
yeah. Still got that Saiyan mindset, even with that, hit on the head when he was a baby. Goku's still Saiyan at heart.
Yeah.
It's like, my kid, he's fine. Like, I mean, they would send, I mean, that's Goku's whole origin. I know they changed it, but originally, I mean, Goku's whole origin, he was sent to Earth as an infant to destroy it himself, like wipe out all life. Not really destroy it because they wanted to resell it, but wipe out all life himself because of the power level was so small on that planet. So Goku is just like, if you're going to be threatening me with a gun, then my 3-year-old child can easily destroy you. Like, that's fine. Just go away.
Yeah.
But no, Gohan is like, you took Pan, and then just the power of his charging up alone, no attacks, nothing, just like, that was so cool.
Well, and also like, it's accentuated when they get there. He doesn't wait for the ship to land. he just
blows it up.
He just explodes out of this thing, in his brain, not giving a crap about the 2 other henchmen that are in this, one of them being Piccolo, so it's fine. But yeah, he just explodes the ship he's in as soon as he sees Pan, and then rushes towards the ground, causing all the rain to dissipate. And it was just so cool.
It's so cool. They really knocked it out of the park with Gohan. And then, Beast Gohan, that totally pays off what he said in the Tournament of Power. Where he's like, I'm not going to... I know he does turn Super Saiyan in this movie, but the Beast Gohan itself, he was just like, I'm not going to rely on my Saiyan heritage, my Saiyan power anymore. Like, I'm going to focus on the human side of me and find my own avenue of power, which is something really interesting that hasn't really been tackled. And then with Beast Gohan, we kind of get that, and so I'd like for them to explore that more, just to see where that came from. If that is just the perfect mix of the human Saiyan, blood that they've been talking about since Gohan was introduced, really, and that just kind of created this all new form, or if that is something like just from his human side that he was able to tap into. I'd like them to explore that a lot more, because that was really cool.
Yeah, because I'll go ahead, Steven.
Oh no, I was going to say, because I got to jump off, so I'm just going to throw out 2 things and then disappear. Sorry. First, I thought it was kind of interesting. So it's kind of relating it to the manga. So there might be spoilers for you who haven't read it.
Boop, boop.
And I know, like, I've been reading on it, like, where this movie takes place in the manga, but it seems like it might be different, and that this should just be looked at as a continuation of Broly. But something I found interesting was that how Vegeta is training differently than Goku when they're on Beerus's world. And when Goku and Vegeta start fighting, you can see, and Whis says it himself, that Vegeta has more control over his power than Goku. And so they're trying to, they're saying, oh, that is probably because, Vegeta was doing that training, that different type of training where he's just sitting there. And I kind of felt like I didn't know if that's a connection to what happens in the manga during the Moro saga when Vegeta goes to planet Yardrat after Goku. So Goku went to Yardrat first after the Frieza saga to learn instant transmission. And then in the Moro saga, when Vegeta goes to the Yardrats to learn his own thing, the Yardrats were telling him that his power was more purified than Goku, and he was able to learn things exponentially faster than Goku did, and in a shorter amount of time. I don't know if they were connecting the fact, the training that Vegeta did in this movie to him being better on planet Yardrat. I didn't know if that's the case, but I thought that was kind of interesting. The second thing that I noticed that was really cool was, I think it was either during Piccolo's fight or Gohan's fight, but there was a point where either Piccolo or Gohan is standing and lifts their hand up in the air, straight out, and one of the superhero androids falls on his hand. Yeah, so his outstretched hand, high above his head. That, I've never seen that before, except in movie 4 of Dragon Ball Z with Lord Slug, because that's a move that Goku did against one of Lord Slug's minions, Metamacha. I didn't know if that was a call out to that, because that's the only time in Dragon Ball that I've seen that done. So I thought that was kind of cool if they were kind of calling that out. So it was that time when either Piccolo or Gohan is standing and having their arms stretched out above them, and then
I think it was Cell. It was Piccolo falling onto Cell. Cell Max beating the crap out of him, and that's what made Gohan snap.
That's what it was. Right. That's what it was. That's right. And so it seems like that was a call out to what Goku did to Metamacha in Lord Slug. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, possibly.
That's kind of cool. But yeah, cool. I gotta go. But
yeah, thanks for coming, Steven.
See you later.
I'll make it. No, I just got. I gotta say one thing. I'm just gonna say that Beerus, he has great taste.
Great taste, yes.
All right, I'm
Well, so much to talk about from those things, because I am very excited to talk about Beast Mode Gohan, but we got to talk about Chilai. I love Chilai, and that's another thing about these movies, especially with the Broly movie and this movie. There's a few cuts where it's just okay, this is still definitely made for teenage boys. Where it's just it's Bulma looking for a radar, and we instantly start with just a full version of her ass in the camera, essentially
waving in the air, just and plus the car scene in one of the at the very beginning, pretty much, and the car's going crazy, and it's just crotch shots of these two guys in the back seat. Just spinning around, having a full conversation, just crotch shot. Yeah, man, it's hilarious.
Yeah,
yeah. And then Beerus, his reaction, it's you're cute, you can stay.
Yeah. And even Whis is just oh man, I didn't think you'd have such traditional tastes. Gods of Destructions are usually such freaks.
Is that going to be explored? Oh man, this could be a whole nother thing.
Well, now that you say explored, I just want to again pimp our Dragon Ball Super podcast, because we thought it would be fantastic if kind of the end of Super is when Beerus is you know what, I don't need Earth anymore for food, because I have figured out how to make tasty food myself. So now you guys need to defend Earth from me, prove that it's worth saving again, but show me your new powers. No, I'm not going to hold back. And this is kind of more ammo towards that. Now he's got a professional chef and a hot green alien girl that he might have to fight with Broly, which is another thing I really wanted to talk about too. Is I think like we were introduced to Beerus. He had a dream about a legendary Saiyan that he wanted to fight, and he met Goku and Vegeta, and he's just like, nah, you guys aren't it. So it could either still be Goku and Vegeta fused because Beerus hasn't interacted with them yet, one of those fusions, or I think it could be Broly. Everything that they talked about with Broly, especially during the Broly movie, he's like never fought before. He's only sparred with like his dad, but everything that we watched Broly go through, he was like just learning on the go. So flying, ki blasts, all of it. Like he literally just learned it while he was fighting Goku and Vegeta. And if that's not like a legendary prodigy, I don't know what is. So I was very excited to see Broly in this, especially him and Beerus kind of have like a moment, but Broly's just he's a boy essentially. Like he has the mind of a child, so he's just like, oh yeah, I'm just here to do this and that. Like he has no ulterior motives. He's pretty much just that clay being shaped into whatever the people in charge of Dragon Ball want to do with him later on.
Yeah, I'm just really glad to see those characters come back in this one, even though they were, they're mostly on the side, and that's perfectly fine. But just to have them come back and just to show everybody, like, yeah, they're going to be hanging around. We're going to see more of them. It was very nice.
Oh yeah, and I mean they single-handedly saved Broly's life. I mean, for the most part, they got him out of there. So they're like lifelong friends now, and that's really cool. Yeah, to see that. But yeah, in terms of what they're going to do with Broly, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Broly, we're seeing him like we've never seen it before. I mean, before Dragon Ball Super Broly, he was just a villain. Like he had 3 movies of being a villain, and not canon either. So now that he's here, I mean, and then with the ending of him being good, because at first I thought he was going to be just this tragic character that would kind of be killed, or at least just sent off. But then when Goku approaches him again at the end of the movie, with the Broly movie, then it's like opens the door to, oh man, we have a new ally with this guy. That's something we've never done before. And then they confirmed it with this new movie where Broly, they don't really let him fight because he goes crazy, but he's cool with that. Like he's just hanging out with everybody, watching, observing, and he's watching the two of the best fighters in the universe go at it. With Whis and Angel and Beerus, a god, being the his ultimate masters. It's crazy, and it definitely, and I keep going back to this. I feel like we all do, but it just kind of goes back to this multiversal war that might be happening. Maybe Whis knows about it. Maybe Whis' father is like thinking of orchestrating something like that to see which one universe is the best of them all. And so that's why Whis and Beerus are a bit more aggressive, even if Beerus doesn't know. But that's why Whis is a bit more aggressive with training, allowing these people to train. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, that could be cool. And when Whis, and going back to the manga, I think everybody knows by now. It's all over at least my social media. But with Frieza, I mean, Whis shows up at the very end, and he doesn't seem concerned. If anything, he seems kind of happy to see Frieza like this. And it's like, and who knows? Maybe Whis had something to do with Frieza's finding that weird planet where he was able to train for 10 years. We just don't know. And so I am waiting for. I hope that this new movie isn't so out of the way of the manga that there can't be a crossover, because they did a really good job with the manga and Broly movie to have them kind of merge by having that last page of Goku and Vegeta fighting Broly at the very end of the Tournament of Power, and then that was kind of just go watch the movie now. But with this one, with Trunks and Goten being a little bit older, with Pan being older, I'm not really sure if this takes place, like in my headcanon, I want to say it takes place after Morrow, right before Granola, but I just don't know. But yeah, I hope it all kind of comes together.
Well, that's kind of one thing that I loved about this movie and the Broly movie too, is like it doesn't really matter when they take place in this scale, because these movies do such a great job of standing on their own. Like It's
Oh yeah.
and it's kind of disappointing because, as we've said, we record a Dragon Ball Super podcast for the manga that comes out every month, and the manga, the story, the writing just doesn't feel nearly as focused as what these movies are. And I know from my experience in film school and all that, it takes a lot more planning and stuff and storyboards and all that to get a movie together, especially with a movie as big as, I mean, the movies are what started the new anime. Battle of the Gods, they put so much money and effort and time into that first movie because they wanted to get people into the series again. So the movies are kind of an opportunity to impress the worldwide audience, and I hate to say it, I kind of almost want it to be like an MCU sort of thing, where I wish that the manga people and the movie people, and hell, even the video game people, all worked together, where each thing like feels like a new chapter. But these movies almost feel like their own thing because they're so much better than like the comics and the anime. Just like, and connections to past things, developments, character progressions, like all of it is just so much more focused and fine-tuned in these movies. And I just wish some of it would bleed into the comic.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I mean, even the with the Red Ribbon Army being the ultimate villain, you know, I mean, at the beginning of the film, you know, we got previously on way back in Dragon Ball when Goku first took down the Red Ribbon Army.
That was such a cool scene.
Oh yeah, and it's like, and this almost felt like a better sequel, like Red Ribbon Army continuation rather than Dr. Gero with the androids, like, you know, 1817 and all them, because he's like a leftover remnant of the Red Ribbon Army. But this one is like an actual sequel to something that happened so long ago, and they did it so well. And you know, this is the newest one. You know, so many things have happened, you know, god tier powers, and you know, in the background we do see, you know, basically the gods fighting for the most part, but the fact that they can still go back and pump some more life and more story into one of Goku's first enemies, like the first major like world threat probably was the Red Ribbon Army. Even though Goku took them out pretty easily, they were still like on their way to taking over. They're taking over village after village, like hunting for the Dragon Balls, and you know, everything like that. But before King Piccolo, there was the Red Ribbon Army, and now here they are again on, you know, another worldwide scale, like, you know, a world-ending threat. Unfortunately, you know, for Goku and Vegeta, anything that's a threat to just the world isn't worth their time at all. So, which is insane. But I guess if you think about, you know, Goku's able to take down, you know, world-ending threats, you know, when he's a child, then yeah, I mean, you know, essentially Ultra Instinct Goku isn't really gonna pay any mind to the Red Ribbon Army. I mean, think of how quickly they'd be able to dispatch these guys if they actually were in the movie. It wouldn't even be funny.
Right. It would have definitely been a lot less tension, and man, it would have given Yamcha some time to shine. Cause,
right, put him in. He could go in there.
And then the next movie will be only about Yamcha.
Oh man, he wakes up, makes some ramen.
I remember when this movie first got announced, and there was like, it's going to be CGI, and it's going to be more focused on like Pan and Gohan and Piccolo, and we're like, oh no, we don't want like a slice of life CGI movie. This is going to not be good, and they proved us wrong. So I think it's just, you know, more fuel onto the fire of just don't make the judgment until at least the trailers come out or you have a better idea of what you're in for. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd say I liked this. Oh boy, I have to think about it pretty hard to like this more than the Broly movie. But it's up there. It's up there. It's definitely better than Resurrection F. And I would say it's better than Battle of the Gods, but I have a huge appreciation for Battle of the Gods just because it was the first new Dragon Ball anything we got for years. It felt so good being back in the theater filled with other people who were just as happy to be there as I was. And just the amount of lore and how much it blew up the Dragon Ball universe. I kind of have a soft spot for that movie because of everything it did. But this was definitely one of the better movies we've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah, very happy with it. And the main focus is Gohan and Piccolo, and they increase their power levels. They give them an actual platform to shine and be cool. It's not just them as they are; it's them growing and becoming these crazy powerful beings that we can get as excited about seeing them as Goku and Vegeta. But then at the same time, we still have a good little bit of Goku and Vegeta training and fighting, and then the payoff. I won't say it, but the payoff of the Goku and Vegeta fight at the very end, I think it's the post credit.
Post credit
is just great. It's perfect, and what a way to end it. And it's just overall, this was such a great movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one as well. I think that this is a good movie for people who are really in-depth fans of Dragon Ball, whereas Broly can be enjoyed a lot more just kind of on its own.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily need to know everything that happened in Super. Whereas this movie even starts off with like a good couple minutes dedicated simply to recapping things from the anime 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, and then like just pacing wise, I thought that was kind of strange because I loved the 3D, flashbacks of and kind of the new animation for Goku tearing up the Red Ribbon Army. It looked awesome. It was fun. It set the mood. And that's kind of why I thought it was really weird that it was followed by like 5 minutes of us just like driving around in the car, having bad guys talk to each other. Like it kind of killed some of the pacing for me, but then the whole rest of the movie just kept going and going and getting better and better until Cell Max showed up. And I thought this is where the animation shined. I liked the two new androids, Gamma 1 and 2. And one of the highlights for me was when they're fighting Cell Max and one of the Gammas decides to, go into the stratosphere and come down full force and take out one of Cell's arms. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful shot. But dude was sacrificing himself for the whole world, and I really enjoyed these characters because they never at one point were they like the bad guys. Like they were good, happy androids that wanted to like help and be superheroes essentially, because that's how this new Dr. Giro's grandson actually operates. Like he wanted to create superheroes to help save the world, and the whole thing was just a misunderstanding, which is why I really liked once that was all realized that Piccolo's just like, all right, we can stop fighting now. We're all on the same team. We're all good people here. Like, and that's when Cell Max decided to show up. But what did you guys think of Gamma 1 and 2? I'm personally pretty excited that Gamma 1 survived and is going to be around with Capsule Corp because it gives Vegeta a new training partner.
Right. Yeah. No, I really liked them. I thought they were a great addition. Really excited for the Gamma 1 to come back. What I liked most about them and that side of it was just the different frame. Just the different perspective on what's been going on Earth throughout the Dragon Ball saga. And if you take it like that, there is a lot of very odd comings and goings from old Bulma's place. It wasn't too hard to believe that, they were kind of the reason behind all of this. And I love that, it's called Dragon Ball Superhero. And, I feel like you initially think it's obviously going to be our heroes, Gohan, Piccolo. But no, it's the Gammas. And then, the very end is like, he proved himself to be a superhero when he sacrificed himself, and that was really cool. And I have a soft spot for androids. Like I love like 18 and 17, especially 17, and that was another reason why I really loved GT is Super 17 versus Goku Super Saiyan 4. That is one of my all-time favorite anime battles. But even though it could have been done better, it was like just everything about it was just really cool aesthetically, I think, for me. But so just to add some more to that lineup, I'm really excited about it. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of go, I guess, further into the Cell Max stuff, some of my favorite I know I've already said that about many of these moments in this movie. It's just how much I enjoyed it, but um, it's kind of hard to decide what my favorite part is, really. But it just, especially once Gohan transforms, he sees Piccolo beaten and bloody, fallen into Cell's hand, and then he snaps and beast mode. Is that what we're calling this new silver hair? Yeah,
that's what it's called.
Interesting.
Beast mode. Okay, I've seen Beast Gohan or Gohan Beast.
Yeah,
but Beast mode. Yeah,
I mean, you know how people always write that differently, but yeah, just Beast.
Well, it's just another reason I loved this animation, and just the things that they were able to do by switching to this 3D animation is, you see like Piccolo fall, and then it snaps to Gohan, just a black line like going through his head, and you just see him power up, and just the shot of like Cell Max's fist like coming up with an uppercut, and you see it's so powerful, all the dust and everything is just splitting as the fist is coming up, and then he hits Gohan, and Gohan doesn't move an inch, and you see the shockwaves of the impact just like explode behind him. And that was just awesome. It was so awesome because we just watched like a solid 10 minutes of Cell Max just rampaging and, you know, swatting people away like flies. But as cool as that was, he hits Cell Max, and then Cell Max responds with a gigantic green Kai blast that they show again. One of my favorite bits in the old video games, I think they started doing it with Budokai 3, was whenever you get like a super attack off on somebody, the camera comes out to the stratosphere and you get to see like the Kai blasts radius, like just taking out like a whole, But that part in this movie, like Cell raises up his hand, and then it's almost like half the size of the planet. Like it starts as like a little green orb, and then just boom, 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 and you see it, and and then it cuts to what it looks like on the ground, and it's just this like dark, mystifying green blackness. Like, it's just so cool. And this is actually one bit, Carlisle, I wanted to bring up too, was in comparing it to the end, the My Hero Academia movies are also quite enjoyable, but one of the most, they always end in incredibly well animated, ridiculously over the top like action scenes at the end of the movie. And the second movie, without giving too much away about it, like, it's two really powered up good guys against one ridiculous bad guy, and instead of like having any of the special like effects or any sound effects, it's just like they put this very soft song over it, and it totally ruins it for me, in my opinion. But the score, as soon as like Gohan turns into beast mode, it just becomes like this ethereal, like ghostly like score, and it just really made Gohan's transformation feel like otherworldly. Like, it wasn't horns and extravagant like the Ultra Instinct score was, but it was just this like haunting presence. Like, I loved it. And
yeah, I would say that it almost reminds me of how like Evangelion would do some of these older, like slightly more artsy series where you have like a classical music or something playing during a really intense moment, and it does change the feel of that scene by having this different music play that really stands out compared to the rest of the soundtrack.
Absolutely. And it accentuated it here. Like, it didn't completely over encompass all the sounds and all that stuff. We still got Piccolo screaming at Gohan, like, take the shot, and all that kind of stuff. But like in the My Hero movie, it literally, like, there's no sound effects. It's just the music while all the stuff's going on. And it just made me appreciate this so much more, because when that happened in that movie, it like took me out of it, and I was like, oh, this is like the coolest part, and you just made it like something else. So it was a fantastic choice there, but that kind of leads into my favorite part of the whole movie, I can comfortably say, is Cell trying to get away and a beaten Piccolo like using his stretchy arms to hold Cell back, and then as soon as like you see Piccolo like straighten up Cell's head for the shot, the camera without cutting snaps over to Gohan and you see his fingers on his forehead getting the special beam cannon ready.
Yeah.
Oh man, that
was awesome.
I lost it when that happened in the theater. Like, because of course we've seen Gohan do like the Kamehameha wave against Cell, which was awesome and great, but especially to a lot of fans who have grown up with the series and have all realized Piccolo's actually a better dad than Goku is. Like, Piccolo raised Gohan essentially. He helped him become who he is. He's trained him. He's been the father that Gohan never really had. And seeing him use Piccolo's technique to finish it off, just and especially Piccolo at the end being like, what was that thing you did there? He's like, well, it was supposed to be like a special beam cannon. And in the sub, he says, well, that was marvelous, which was, and in the dub, he's just like, well, that was pretty good. just either way, it made my heart feel so happy. Like, it's just that, you know, it's just whoever wrote this movie, like, knows the fans. And it just feels like while you're reading, like, the comic or even the anime sometimes, it's just like they're just doing it to do it, but it doesn't feel like they're, like, doing it anxious to have payoffs and, you know, little references to past things. And this movie was just a treat in that regard.
Yeah, it really was. And, you know, even with, you know, Cell Max coming back the way he did, you know, he wasn't really the main villain. He was the most powerful one at the end, villain-wise. But, you know, the main villain is Red Ribbon Army and the fallout of that. But just to have a version of Cell back while Gohan achieves this level of power, it totally just full circle around to when Gohan first defeated Cell. But, you know, they did it in a different way. But, yeah, in doing it following, Piccolo's kind of training and his path, plus with, you know, Beast Gohan, you know, kind of paying off what he said in the Tournament of Power, where he's going to find his own new avenue of power, while also, you know, taking into consideration what you said, his main mentor, his almost like his father throughout the whole thing, Piccolo, by using the special beam cannon at the end. It was just so well done, just the way it was. And this movie was so great. Really, and talking about it now, I'm getting a new sense, a new appreciation for it, because at first it's like, oh, this is awesome, you know, like, this is cool. But, you know, talking about it and being able to kind of explore, hearing what you guys have said, making me think back, it's like, oh yeah, that was that, and that makes me think, oh, this too. It's so cool. You're right, such a treat. This movie's great.
I went to the movie with some college friends who were into anime, and we stood outside the theater for an hour at least talking about the movie afterwards.
Hell yeah.
And so, I mean, it's like one of the things we talked about then was probably the one missed opportunity in this movie that I really wish that we got was, how are we going to have a movie starring Gohan called Superhero and not bring up Saiyaman at
Great
all?
Saiyaman, yeah.
Thank God they didn't. I hate the Great Saiyaman, and maybe it's because of Super, where it's like, you know, Trunks goes back in time and he sees Gohan put on the costume for Pan, and he's just like, what the hell happened to this guy?
Right.
Like, this is my, you know, one-armed master that, you know, died fighting the androids. Like, this is the guy that, you know, in this universe killed Cell. Like, this is him.
Yeah, what a nerd.
Oh, man. Yeah, and then later on in Super, where they're making the Great Saiyaman movie, that was just, you know, and that was, you know, obviously a filler for the anime, but man, watching that is like, oh god, and just his corny voice. Because I thought the exact same thing, Carlisle. I was like, it's definitely going to be in here, at least in the beginning parts, and then, you know, something's going to get serious where he, you know, puts on his old school Piccolo, you know, garb, and he, you know, actually does it. But at the beginning, he's definitely going to be Great Saiyaman, and that's going to be the superhero aspect of this film. Thank God they didn't do that.
Yeah.
It would have been fine. Like, I would have been cool with it, especially if they kept most of the stuff that we think was awesome in it. But
It would have been different.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy they didn't do that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad too. One other little disappointment, I like Videl a lot, and we've never really, especially like her transition from Z to Super, we've never really seen Videl do anything after becoming a mom. So I thought it would have been kind of interesting to get her into here too, but she only would have been useful until Cell Max showed up. But another part about this movie I really like too, and it actually hit on both the dub and the sub version, was when Cell Max shows up and everything's crumbling, and Krillin, Bulma, and Pan are like having to run off of a like disintegrating platform or something. The voice actor, well, both voice actors, English and Japanese for Krillin, just like yelling at Pan, "You've got to fly!" And just the sound and I'm getting chills just talking about that. But just like Pan's journey in this movie too. Like we got. I kind of hate that Steven is left from this part because he loves GT so much, but Pam got more like character development in this movie than I feel like she did in all of GT. Like, it's been a while since I've watched GT, but I remember that being a major disappointment with GT.
Yeah, she just didn't find her own power when she totally could have. And hopefully this, continuing the training with Piccolo, I hope she becomes similar in personality that she was in GT, because it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember liking her. I thought she was cool. But, with Saiyan powers, like, yes, she had some in GT, but I want to see her get to, like the Universe 6 Saiyans, and that'd be really cool, like their level
just
of power.
Finding the tingle in her back.
Right, yeah. I know that had some controversy in that.
Oh boy!
Like, oh man, it's like we had sagas. Vegeta had to fight asteroids on a moon to get that, and you just flex your back a little bit and boom.
Yeah.
But I guess it's easier for when one person unlocks it. It's easier to teach another, whatever. But hopefully Pan kind of falls into her own, and she's a big part, like kind of like the replacement for little kid Goten and Trunks, and now it's like little kid Pan who's like all about it, and Trunks and Goten are a little bit older, like how they were in this movie. I definitely want to see them as being older in the manga, and then the continued Dragon Ball Super anime, just because that was another thing I really liked about GT, was that they were older. They didn't really do too much, but they just they were older. It reminded me of Future Trunks, kind of aligning the age of Trunks, where I feel like everyone really loved him, was that initial when he came back and just murked Frieza like it was nothing. Like, that's just automatically, man, like, who's this guy? Like, that's awesome. And then obviously he came back in Super, but to have the Trunks of this timeline, the main timeline, being that age and that power scale, that's really exciting. And this is the first time they've done that since GT. So that's really cool. I hope that continues. But yeah, there's a lot, even like the side characters, there's a lot that they can do with progressing their characters. And this movie itself proves that we don't need a Goku and Vegeta focused story. I know that's been the main thing that's been said. So I'll reiterate it here, but it's so true, and that opens the door to not just Gohan and Piccolo, but yeah, like a full on teenage Trunks and Goten movie. Let's see what they can do, or
even like a spin-off series, like.
Yeah, totally.
I think this movie, I completely agree. This movie definitely proved that you don't need Vegeta and Goku to tell like a compelling story in this, and especially after everything that we've just established with Pan and a more adult. I think that's another issue a lot of people have with GT too. Is like at first it seems like it's setting up like new everything, new main characters, new quests, new everything. But then, like, a little bit into it, they're like, well, people just want it to be Dragon Ball Z again. They want Vegeta and Goku and all that and fighting, so let's start moving it more to be towards that again. And it's just like, I don't know, done in the right way, we would absolutely be 100% cool with, a story focused on teenage Trunks, Goten, and Pan going off on some sort of adventure. Like, that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and like that was the thing I really didn't like about GT. One of the only ones was that, and I actually wrote a piece on this too pretty recently. Instead of giving the spotlight to another child, like Pan or whatever, they just turned Goku into a kid again. Like they just it was Emperor Pilaf who did it. So it was like Dragon Ball all over again, and now he's a kid and doing his thing, and that's just going about it the wrong way, in my opinion. They could have definitely done it better. And then, later on to still continue Goku's elevation of power into Super Saiyan 4, but he's a little kid still. It's like you can't have it both ways for me. It felt really weird to see this kid, running around like we saw him in Dragon Ball, and then he, powers up to Super Saiyan 4 and he's an adult again. It's a little strange, but whatever, they did it. I mean that's the thing. There's a lot of cool elements to GT, and that's what I hold on to in my memory, because that was like the main one that came on when I was a kid. But what you call it? Yeah, no, it's overall it wasn't great, and that's why now with Super they have all the opportunities to take the best parts of that and turn it into something great.
Yes.
And I think again this movie proves that they can do that. I mean, they did it.
I think they did it with Broly too. Like they they almost made Cell Max have Broly's personality. I think it would have been the cherry on top if Cell Max is just yelling "Go on" the whole time. Because he wouldn't have been much different than what Broly originally used to be. But yeah, I mean they're taking a lot of the best ideas from failed Dragon Ball things and making them work, and I hope they keep doing it, guys.
Me too.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
Super Saiyan 4 next.
Yeah, who knows? I know a lot of people still want it to come back, and we've come up with our own theories on some past Dragon Ball Super podcasts on how the next arc could possibly get into something like that, especially with Bardock being brought up. So go back and check out those other Mega Manga Monday episodes, where we have a lot of really fun conversations about Dragon Ball Super. We had a lot of us on the newest discussion, and we may have laughed the hardest we've laughed on a podcast before.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. One other thing that we'll kind of get into final thoughts and wrap this thing up pretty soon, but I meant to bring it up earlier when we were talking about Vegeta training on Beerus's planet with Goku and Broly and stuff. And we finally, I almost want to say it's kind of vague, but it's almost finally a explanation on Jiren's power. One thing about the Tournament of Power for me is I really liked Jiren as a villain, even though we didn't really get to dive as deep into his backstory as we definitely could have. But it's just they did such a great job of making him so intimidating and seeming so strong, but they never really explained how he attained such levels of strength. And we kind of got a little bit like Vegeta kind of figuring it out, supposedly years later.
Yeah.
But he's saying he wasn't that much stronger than we were. It was just his discipline and knowing how to use his strength seemed to be the key there. So I find it really interesting that Vegeta is starting to kind of try to get into that. And as soon as he brought that up, he was able to defeat Goku. Oh my god, after years and years and years. There's actually a ramen place in my heck of the woods that is fantastic. And it's got Dragon Ball murals all over the place, and the guy has anime going on the big TV whenever you're sitting, and it only sits 15 people. It's just a little hole in the wall ramen place, and it's fantastic. But
that's great.
It's lovely. But I went there last time, and he's like, did you see the movie? And I was like, oh, hell yeah, I saw the movie. And we ranted about it for a while. And I noticed that on the restaurant's Facebook page, he specifically took a picture of that screenshot of Vegeta saying, I did it. I finally beat Kakarot. And it got lots of attention. So it was just, I'm glad that so many people are happy. I mean, this movie just nailed it in so many things. We got Gohan respect, we got Piccolo respect, and we got Vegeta respect.
Oh, yeah.
But any more thoughts on the movie, guys? I feel like we could, as I thanks for bringing that up, Carlisle. Too, just you and your buddies like just staying around at the movie an hour after it ended, just talking about it because yeah, this movie just was so much fun, and it makes me glad to be a Dragon Ball fan and have other Dragon Ball fans to talk to. So thanks for your time, guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely, so much fun.
But yeah, any final thoughts on Dragon Ball Superhero?
No, I think pretty much nailed it. Unless you want to go for another hour, which I don't think we do. But yeah, no. Overall, just TLDR. This is a great movie. Something for everybody. New, like it really is just so great. I'm stoked to watch it again, especially after talking about it here today. And yeah, just I hope they just keep it up. But yeah, like you said, really proud to be a Dragon Ball fan. Like, yeah, just a huge treat.
It's a good time. Well, yeah, this podcast will probably be coming out after this fact, but tomorrow is officially movie cinema day, so all movie tickets are $3. So go see it again tomorrow. I think I might be trying to take my wife and kid to go see it, who are not nearly as big of Dragon Ball fans as I am, but it's one of those things wherever you put it on, they stop doing what they're doing and watch it and like it. So yeah. I think they'll enjoy it. I'm excited to watch it again. So, but yeah, guys, I guess we'll go ahead and move into plugs and recommendations. This has been Mega Manga Mondays. You can follow us on Twitter for updates on when new episodes are coming out, and maybe a comedic tweet once or twice a week. But yeah, follow us on Twitter at Manga Mondays. I'm Jason Hahn. We're writers from ScreenRant.com. Check out our articles there. I'm a lot more prominent in the video game sections, and my buddies here are in the comic sections. So definitely check that out for very introspective and interesting, and also news related to manga, video games, and all those other pop culture things that you enjoy. But I also have a YouTube channel called Hansi and Friends. I just actually dropped a new Let's Play video. Me and my buddy Mike, we've been buddies for like 20 years. So we've been playing RoboCop versus the Terminator on the Sega, and that game is terrible. Cool. It's a terrible game, but we had a lot of fun playing it. So definitely check that out if you feel like laughing once or twice. But I also like to stream Wednesdays and Sundays, so definitely check that out. But Carlisle, any plugs or recommendations today, buddy?
Not too much today. I officially announced the Elven Revenue Service hiatus. That's my visual novel that I have been working on. I'm putting that aside for a little bit because my wedding is coming up soon.
Hell yeah!
But the demo's still out there. You can always check out the demo. And yeah, I think we've talked about the movie about as long as the movie is. So
hell yeah. Well, yeah, go ahead and check out Elven Revenue Service. Is also on Twitter. But yeah, it's going to be going on a bit of a break. But there is a demo you can check out. That's a good time. And Spencer, anything from you, man?
Yeah, writer Screen Rant. Right now, I'm kind of doing an unofficial, series on Dragon Ball. I've started the manga from the very beginning, and I'm just reading through, pulling some stuff out. Writing a few articles on it. Some of it's pretty cool. Some of it's like, what's going on here? What are you talking about? But, overall, it's a lot of fun. It's written by a super hardcore Dragon Ball fan. So I hope when you read it, you'll have just as much fun as I did when I wrote it. So those are just kind of steadily coming out. You can follow me on Twitter at the Spencerverse. I'm not super active on Twitter, but, I'm still there. Presence is there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Go see this movie. Check out some of those articles if you want to, and they're a fun time.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap it up now. Definitely go see this movie. Hopefully it comes out on Blu-ray soon, because I'm anxious to watch it in my own personal theater system. So turn it up a little bit too loud. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and we'll definitely talk when new Dragon Ball Super chapters come out, and when they inevitably make a new movie. But right. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll talk to you guys later.
See ya.
Peace.